Hi everyone. Uh, Today we are going to look at the simple factory design pattern. So without further ado, let's dig into the facts. So simple factory design pattern is one of the most popular design patterns among developers. So it is a very useful design patterns when it comes to the implementation of complex systems. So these simple factory design patterns belong to the category called creational design patterns. So which means this design pattern is used when creating objects. So this design factory design pattern is used when there is a superclass with multiple subclasses, and by giving a parameter, we need to return one of these subclasses. So this is the scenario we need to use this design pattern. So basically, this design patterns takes out the responsibility of the instantiation of class from the client program, or rather the client code, and hand it over to a separate class. In this case, we are name that class as a factory class. So the main characteristics or the main advantage of this factory design pattern is we can create objects without directly specifying the class. So, uh, in other words, this is also called as encapsulation of object creation. So basically, the client code does not have the logic to create objects, but rather client code takes an input from the user and it provides to the factory class, another class, to create the to do the object creation. So uh, yeah, in order to let me explain it by a simple example. So let's assume there is a toy factory, right? This factory can create three types of toys. So those are dolls, ducks, and cars. So uh, what user do is user provide an input to the client code. So in this case, the client code is the factory pattern demo class, and it take that input. It's just a simple input, which is client say to the client code, okay, I want a car toy. So the input will be car, and the client code takes that input and it provide it to the factory class. So toy factory class is our factory class here. So what it does is it takes user input and it do the required processing. So the factory have only the factory know how to create the toy. So it takes the input and create that toy, that object, and it return to the user through client code. So if you look at this class diagram, so this toy class is our parent class, and its subclasses are doll, car, and ball. So these are the three type of toys. So this we implement this toy class as an interface, and for the sake of simplicity, there is only one method which is create. So when the other subclasses implement this toy class, the concrete implementation need to provide for this create method. So the toy class toy class can be the abstract class or interface, while other three subclasses are concrete classes which extend the toy class. So we mention what type of toy we want, whether it is a doll, duck, or a car, in our client code, and it will pass that message to the toy factory class. So according to the input we provide to the factory, it will execute the required logic and return the correct toy we requested. So let's see how we can implement this simple example using the factory pattern with Java. So first, let's try to implement this toy interface, the parent class of the actual concrete toy class. So our class name will be toy. So that is a interface. So we create an interface called toy, and the only method this interface has is the get type, which returns the type of the toy. If it is a doll, it returns a, a string called doll, and whether if it is a duck, it returns a string called duck. So let's implement that method here. So now we have finished implementing our parent class, which is a toy interface class. So now we must create three classes for our three type of toys by implementing this interface class. So first, let's create a class for the car type of toys. So this is a concrete class which implements the class, the interface we created before. So we need to override that method and provide a concrete implementation for get type. So let's return something, string something like this for the car. So now we have finished implementing the car class. So similar to this one, let's implement, let's create the classes for duck and doll toys as well. I will simply get a copy from this class and rename it duck, and we need to change the implementation of this class. So now this is a duck, and similar to this one, let's create a class for dog, and again we need to change the implementation. Right, now we have created all the three type of toy classes and also our parent class. Parent, it is interface toy. So now the next step is to create our factory. So we need to create our factory class. So factory class will take an input, and within that class, according to the input, it will create the corresponding object of the toy. So let's create our factory class. Let's name it as toy factory. So our toy factory class has only one method, which takes an input and return the toy object. So this can be a static method. So it returns a toy type of object, and let's name this method as get toy. So this method takes one input. So this is the input user provide to the client code, and the client code, through the client code, we can pass that input to the toy factory class. So toy factory can create a toy object. Let's just initialize that on here. So according to the given user input, the factory must create the corresponding toy object. So let's just use a switch statements here. So type is the user input. So if the user input is car, so we must create a car type of toy. So similarly, we should not forget to add the break statement down here. It's similar to that, if it is a doll object, we must create a doll object. And if it is, sorry, here we need to change this to doll. And if it is a duck toy, we need to create a duck object. And let's set default statement here as well. Let's do nothing if it is default. And finally, we should return the object we created. So now this is our simple toy factory class. So now finally we need to create our client client code. So this is the place we provide input for the program that we need this type of toy. So I will name this client code as factory method demo, factory pattern demo. So basically, this is the main class of the Java program, our Java application. So it should has the main method, and inside the main method, so we can just if let's say we want to create a car object, we need a car toy. So what we should do here is, so we must directly can call the toy factory class we just created. So toy factory class has the method get toy, and we just need to provide the what type of toy we want. So this will return. So toy factory will take this argument and it will create a car object within toy factory class, and it will return here. So the our client program does not know any logic needed to create, needs to create the car object. So instead, toy factory take care of that. So it will return a toy car. the type will be toy, and it will be a car. So let's print the, let's call that get type method in the car object. So get type. So if our implementation is correct, ideally this should print the type get type. This car object has a get type method, and when we call this get type method, it should print this is a car. So that is what we implemented here. Okay, let's run and see. Yes, so the terminal, if you look at the terminal, so this is a car sentence is printed on the terminal. So similar to that, we can create other toys as well. I will just simply copy and paste it. Let's create a doll type of toy. So we must provide the doll argument here, and it should be doll. And again, let's create another object for duck, and the name we should pass here is duck. Let's run and see what other outputs are. Yeah, as expected, this one will print this is a car, and this the doll toy will print this is a doll, and the duck toy printed this is a duck. So yeah, we have successfully implemented the factory method uh, here for this toy factory. So this is all about factory pattern. So this is a very simple and it is a very useful pattern. So even though the example I use here looks very simple in real life, uh, so it is very handy when implementing complex software system. So this by using this pattern, we can make our code more organized, simple, and robust, and also and very easy to extend. So imagine we want to add a new toy. Our factory can now produce a new type of toy. So we don't. So in that case, we don't have to do any changes in our client code in here. So only thing we need to is we just need to add another statement here, switch case statement here in order to get that new toy, and just we need to create another concrete class for that type of toy. So it is very extendable when it comes to the maintainers. It is very handy. The code is very extendable if we use factory design pattern. So yeah, so now you guys know what is factory pattern is, and yeah, that's all for today. Let's meet in another video. Yeah, thanks guys.